From Chris Williamson, former psychotherapist, most couples therapy is useless.
Therapy is useless. Not because the therapy is wrong, but because most couples don't go to therapy together until one of them is absolutely not wanting to work on the relationship anymore. They're using therapy as an excuse to air their frustration one last time.
Mm-hmm. So many times I've had couples come in, and that's exactly what it is one is all in for it and is convinced I'm going to fix their partner and tell them that they've been right all along. And the other partner comes in dreading it because their partner is the one who set it up. And they say, what sort of buzzsaw am I walking into? And it is a miserable experience for all three people involved, unless I can turn them around and convince the other partner that I'm there to help them. In which case, the first partner is convinced that I have somehow pulled a switcheroo, and they are now going to get betrayed by their coach now, who's working with them. It's an ugly process. It is really ugly. The only time couples therapy really works is when they are coming in because they both want to make it work, but they don't have.
And also the MDMA trials is amazing for couples therapy.
The skills, and they have no idea what to do. If they both want to make it work, it's an amazing experience. If one of them doesn't want to work and doesn't have the guts to say it, it's a horrible experience for both people.
Why is it so rare for couples to go to couples therapy before the stage that one of them is basically ready to call it quits and needs an arbiter between the two of them?
Because most people do not have the skills they need to speak to their partner proactively and productively about the problems. So they just pretend there aren't problems, or they throw anger and excuses at each other over and over and over again. One will try, the other withdraws, then they switch, and the other one tries again, and the other one withdraws. And they only vent to the people around them. They don't actually go out and get proactive solutions from the people around them. And their family systems are usually broken, so they've never seen a healthy relationship. They think this is as good as it gets. They only seek professional help when one of them panics because the other one has made a change. And I will also say this. Women change for relationships, typically. Men only will change for circumstances, which is reality. Women will usually be done with a relationship a year or more before they're actually ready to get divorced.
Nailed it.
Men have no idea that this is coming. Men get blindsided, and they say, wait, I'm finally willing to give it a try. Let's try couples therapy. And she's been done for a year. So this is a
Nailed it. Everything he just said was on the mark. Yeah.
very common problem right there.
Do you think that explains part of the reason that most divorces are initiated by women?
Absolutely. At 100%. Because most women have spent 5, 10, 20 years changing for the relationship, hoping that her husband will secretly somehow change for the relationship too. Men only change when they observe a problem, and then when they believe that there is a solvable problem there that they
Yep. This guy's nailing it so
can
far.
actually work on. It takes both of those things for a man to actually work on something. Most men will only change enough to try to stop the discomfort that they're experiencing and try to go backward.
Yeah, it's I have a number of friends that have either been through couples counseling or are going to couples counseling at the moment, and I would say that the archetype is,
I mean, how many relationships do you know, for example, on the woman's side where she's frustrated with her man, is clinging on because she thinks she can change him, or just the general red pill trope of women think they can change a man, right? She's always with the quote Pookies and Ray Rays, that funny saying, thinking that she's going to change them or she's going to be the special one or that she's got the magic box that'll make this man come to his senses. Inevitably ends up getting pumped and dumped. Everything he said is spot on.
as you've described, that it really is, if this counseling was to make the relationship better, it is a severe uphill battle, which I imagine from a therapist's perspective makes couples counseling not exactly fun.
So I went through school, graduate program, 6 years for a master's degree, and then an additional 3 years of apprenticeship.
It makes sense that couples therapy fails for people in such a high percentage because think about it, man. The relationship is basically over. You want an arbitrator to tell you why you should keep going while one of you has fully checked out mentally. It's already the end of the relationship is dead for somebody, one of the two. And then you go to have somebody else try to talk you into staying as a third party. Why it's good to be together when you've already checked out as a man out of your head or the woman out of her head. And then this is why, for example, men that get forced into therapy always feel like it's against them. right? Like the therapist is taking the wife's side so much. And it's probably because they went in under these circumstances where it feels like the therapist is playing a side because clearly one side's already checked out. Just end it, dude. Therapy's most people, unfortunately, and this is stepping on a lot of therapists' money, but for most people, therapy is already too late. If you proactively go to therapy, like say starting in the start of your relationship, during the middle of your relationship, if you're super honest and you're on good terms, the relationship is doing fine, and you go, hey, let's work on some communication skills, and I really value our relationship and I'm having a great time and I see a future with you, and I think we should go to therapy just to iron out some of the kinks here. I don't want to be blindsided by whatever, some miscommunication. If you go into therapy that way, and where you're both happy and you're both trying to learn one another and opening up and sharing, dude, your relationship's going to blossom. Most likely your relationship's going to do great. You'll probably form stronger bonds than you did before going in. But people don't go into therapy with that mindset. They go into therapy as like a Hail Mary, dude. This has got to save me. This has got to save my relationship. Never works. Will never work. There's just free money for therapists. Omni, what's going on, brother? Thank you so much. Haven't seen you in a minute. Nailed it, Bo. The government gets monetarily fed by keeping women and men apart. The government promoted the nuclear family in the 50s to flourish urban development. Once that was accomplished, they decided to destroy the family to tax women and get them into debt. Yes. And then further perpetuate these broken homes. It's a vicious cycle. Once you come from a broken home, statistically, you're going to create one, and your kids will create the next one, so on and so forth.
Of hard apprenticeship under clinicians. So it's a 9-year process to become a marriage and family therapist. 9 years of training of them telling us you will get burned out on this job. Couples therapy is hard. Couples don't actually usually get better. Very few of them do. It's hard work, and you have to completely detach from their outcomes, because otherwise you will drive yourself crazy watching one couple after another tear themselves apart, and there's nothing you can do to help them. This is the messaging they gave us, and it was very true. You come in, you do the best that you can, and you guide them forward. And usually the biggest...
Yeah, guys, that broken home thing, there's a reason I told you in college I had 3 simple rules, and if I broke any of them, I got absolutely burned hard. And I did break them for one girl. All 3 of them. And your boy got burned so goddamn red. He basically red pilled himself. It's don't date a woman that has more guy friends than girlfriends. Don't date a woman that comes from a broken home. Okay, again, let me preface by saying not all, but most. Okay, this isn't the law of the universe, but typically it will save your ass. You can have a person in front of you that has come from a broken home with a bad background that is the most beautiful soul you'll ever meet on earth. Some of the most beautiful souls you'll ever meet on earth came from, I'm telling you. These are the people with the most empathy and the most understanding. It's super rare, but we have to acknowledge they exist. And the third final rule is what she did to her boyfriend, she'll do to you. So if she cheated on her man, if you're the guy she cheated on with, she's going to do that same exact shit to you. Follow these 3 rules and you're typically going to be good on the vetting end for a majority of the problems right away that people deal with. After that, it's about these more paying attention to more minute details, like how her father runs the household and how he treats his wife and his daughter, etc. Ray Patson, thanks, brother. Every man must read King, Warrior, Magician, Lover by Robert Moore. Listen to his YouTube lectures. You'll understand Jungian male archetype pyramid. Thank you.
This piece that I would do is get them to a point where they could say, what got you together in the first place? Where do you have any commonalities? And where is there even a sliver of hope that both of you could work together on this?
And that's the sad part. Somebody said, kind of sad that what you described already disqualifies a majority of women. Yeah, a majority of women in the West are disqualified from relationships. It's the truth. A majority of women today in the West are not wife material. That is the brutal truth, because in order to get married and have a successful family, you need a traditionally conservative-minded woman. There are not many of those left today.
Even a tiny shred of hope, we can make this work. Really briefly, one time I had a couple come in to my coaching practice. They both had very, very bad attachment. Neither one of them knew it. One of them was having an affair. The other one wanted the relationship to work. The one who was having an affair wasn't sure if they wanted it to work or not. I educated them on attachment. First session, educated fully on attachment. Second session, got them working on bonding together and doing what couples are supposed to do. Third session, taught them communication skills and conflict resolution. By the 4th session, when they walked in, Both of them were happier in their relationship than they had ever been, even as newlyweds, even as they were dating. The person who was cheating said, absolutely not. I'm going to do this marriage. It's amazing. They had healed their attachment together, and they were now growing closer to their friends and their family at the same time.
Yeah. And a lot of these issues come from, again, childhood trauma. These attachment issues stem from something in your childhood that involves your parents and your family and how you grew up. This is why I say one of the most important qualifiers for a woman is self-awareness. If you can find a self-aware woman that understands her trauma and her baggage and is actively or has already worked on fixing it, then you're not going to have to deal with any of these hidden scars during a relationship. Yeah, childhood trauma, man, it's like this dark cloud that follows. Everybody has some trauma from childhood. Everybody. It's very rare for a person to grow up in a perfect household. Super rare. But it's your job. It's your job to recognize this in the woman you choose to marry and start a family with. You're the one that gets down on one knee. So it is your fault. Men, I'm telling you, you are ultimately responsible for your family failing. Hard pill to swallow. You got down on one knee. You asked her for marriage. You convinced yourself that she was good enough. Educate yourself on vetting properly more before you pop that ultimate question. Black Jesus, thank you. Based on Reddit stories, most women cheat or carrying another guy's child before marriage counseling or is thinking about previous chads. Yeah, again, and these are broken women that probably qualify under my 3 rules or have an incredible trauma and childhood baggage that they're carrying around that you could spot from a mile away. If you just know what to look for, you can disqualify a vast majority of women from any serious romantic, prospect. It is what it is. It used to be socially reinforced to keep women, quote, pure. Women would socially reinforce each other. And men would socially reinforce it by not marrying, giving time to any of these women, rights to any assets, anything at all. Being a whore was not a good thing in society back in the day. Women hated you and men hated you. Now, you can openly hoe around and you're celebrated. Welcome, hedonism.
It only took 3 sessions of doing the deep work because both of them were committed to it. If a couple wants to make it work, even extreme circumstances can work, but you must both want to make it work.
How does a pair of people who have got ingrained responses, habituated thought patterns, routines built into their communication style, the way they relate to each other, the way that they show up to each other, how can it be the case that 3 sessions is all that it takes to deprogram something which, at the very least, we're taught should take 66 days to break and make a new habit?
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. It's curious because here's the piece, is so many people are living with a decision they made when they were 1 year old that said, I am scared, I am hurt, I am sad, I feel vulnerable. People will abandon me or people will betray me. There is something wrong with me or with other people, and I am not ever going to be able to be open again because I will never be this hurt, this scared, this vulnerable ever again for the rest of my life. They don't even remember this decision. But that foundational belief has been set into their brain as an absolute fact of the universe. Gravity pulls things down, water is wet, and love is impossible, and I must live in fear for the rest of my life to stay safe. That foundational belief, once you hear it, and say, oh, I have been believing that, but it's probably true. And someone comes in, an attachment expert comes in and says, it is not true. Here's an alternate model for living that is possible. I want you to think about it over the next week and tell me if it's ruining your life or if this is something that we could fix. And they'll think about it and it ruins it for them. And then they start seeing the matrix and they say, wow, maybe there is 2 different ways to live. And maybe I've been living the wrong way. Maybe I'm willing to learn. And then they learn it. Once you got it intellectually, cool. Once you experience it, that's where it begins to change. Because when you experience the difference, your brain chemistry balances out, right? I deal with the 5 big brain chemicals. There's more than this, but the 5 big ones we look at: vasopressin, oxytocin, GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, and serotonin. Those 4 are absolutely crucial to get through your good relationships. If you don't have good relationships, you've got a dopamine button that you can punch like a monkey. This is where people have porn addiction and all kinds of addictions and phone addictions and gambling addictions. It's because their brain chemistry is off from their wounded relationships that they've never been fulfilled. It is like a duck that is terrified of water, so it lives its whole life on land. It's like a duck who will never fly because it's terrified of the sky as well. It's a duck who is continuously walking because it thinks water or flying is going to kill it. That's what these people are like. As they experience even a little bit, The overwhelming brain chemistry that floods through them from good relationships is like a duck who finally learns to swim or finally flies and says, this is not just not scary. It is exhilarating. It's everything I was built for. Your brain is built for these things, and the addiction to the good takes over, and it heals you much more rapidly than most people are expecting. It is not about habits. It is about cultivating the right experiences so that your brain takes over for you.
What's happening, people?
Beautifully said.